to get out of our pajamas and put real clothes on, I'm doing air quotes, it changes our mindset. And one way to think about it is it turns your brain on. It's kind of like a signal to your brain that now it's time to be productive. What if there are things we never had the opportunity to learn? We've all been to school or training, but there are things they never taught us that actually make a powerful difference in life. I'm here to share with you all the pieces you've been missing: mindset, health, success, and more. And we'll all learn together from guests along the way. We may not have learned it the traditional way, but oh my goodness, let's keep learning how to do things differently. OMG, hello, Teach Me Tribe. I am excited to be with you again this week. And this week, we are going to head back into the realm of talking about style. Now, one of the most downloaded podcast episodes for OMG Teach Me was the style episode this summer with Amanda Gauger. Go find episode 11. I promise you, you will love the tips she gives. You will be able to go out into the world feeling just that little bit better and more confident about how you're dressing for your shape. And clearly, the Teach Me Tribe is a very stylish group. I'm sure that's true, or is really aware that feeling good about how we look is a way to feel good internally as well and boost our confidence. And probably both of those things are true. I shouldn't say or, I'm guessing both. So this week, we're going to go deeper and we're going to talk about why we care about how we look, and should we get dressed for real every day? Now, this topic has become a bigger one, obviously, since the pandemic, because more of us are spending more time in our houses at home, working from home. I work completely from home and I have a job and a business in this podcast. It's all from home. So I have to get myself out of the house sometimes just to make sure I actually go out in public. And that may or may not be true for you. You may be raising your kids and spending time with your kids at home all the time. Or maybe you're doing a hybrid work schedule where some days are at home and some days are in the office. At the very least, of course, we all have some days off every week. So even if you're in the office all of your work days, you're at home sometimes. So let's talk about whether it matters that we actually get dressed in real clothes every day, or should we just stay in our soft clothes, our stretchy pants? I think soft clothes is my favorite new term since 2020. So let me just throw that out there. But should we stay in those all the time, or does it matter? That's what we're going to dive into today. So here we go. Ready? First of all, we learned in episode 11 that we really do want to pay attention to some principles about our body shape. We all have different shapes, and what we can accentuate and how we can feel good about that. Just, basic principles that we can generally follow to put our best foot forward in terms of style. So first of all, why do we even get dressed? If we go under those basic principles, why do we even get dressed? Well, obviously for modesty, right? We're not going to be walking around in the world with nothing on, at least not in our current society. But let's talk about more than that. We're getting dressed, according to lots and lots of research on this, believe it or not, for a few different reasons. We have an instinct to protect ourselves. Our brains, as we've talked about many times, are all about keeping us safe, minimizing change, minimizing pain, all of that. So putting clothing on is like a self-protecting mechanism. It is like a shield or an armor to a certain extent mentally. We also have an instinct to want to display and decorate our bodies. So we could take that literally and think about women with jewelry or hats and men with ties and that kind of thing. But I think it's beyond that. And also figuratively, we want to kind of look good to the people that we come in contact as a display of ourselves. It feels good. And then the last one I'm going to mention is that we get dressed because we want to interact with other people and we want them to see us in a certain way. And there was a study done 11 years ago at Northwestern University, that's in the US for my international listeners, that came up with a term called enclothed cognition. I'm not sure if I can say that clearly enough or not. Enclothed cognition. And what this means is when we put clothes on our body, it also infiltrates our brain. So the clothes we put on our body put us in a different psychological state depending on those clothes. This is what these researchers found, and you could definitely Google and find out more. So clothes have a symbolic meaning, even down to the item of clothing, and that influences our mental state. And let me tell you how this came about, because I thought it was really interesting. So when they were doing some scientific study of this idea of enclothed cognition, they started with an experiment with lab coats. So the white doctor lab coat that you imagine from TV or movie, or maybe you wear one in your job. So they were doing a study to figure out, do we think with our bodies and our brains? And is how we feel based on physical experiences, including the experience of wearing clothes. So we're trying to figure this out. And the people participating in the experiment either wore a lab coat or they wore their street clothes, their regular clothes. And then the people doing the study tested their attentiveness. And interestingly enough, the people who were wearing the lab coat had heightened alertness and awareness more than those who were not wearing a lab coat every single time. Just emphasizing that because I thought that was pretty amazing. So the act of wearing this white lab coat that we have, I suppose, been conditioned by, like we said, movies, TV, seeing doctors in doctors' offices, seeing professionals in a lab, the act of wearing that white lab coat created associations for people. It became a symbol of intelligence, of focus, of paying attention, of being able to do whatever they needed to do. And the same thing, they said, can happen when we see people in uniforms or in suits. So the apparel that people are wearing tells us what position they have. And we believe that it also tells us their skills and their abilities. Now, obviously, every single person wearing the same uniform doesn't have the same skills and abilities and interest and intelligence. We know that, but our brains have a way of looking at different outfits where we decide this is what we know and this is what we expect about this person. And it can be related to us as well. And that's the interesting part. Obviously, around in your life, you see someone in a uniform or a lab coat or a suit, you're maybe not even realizing that you're thinking a certain thing about them. But I really want you to understand that it's about ourselves too. So the people in this study put on a lab coat and they scored higher on the assessments. So there was a correlation between whatever the style was, however they were looking on the outside with their clothing, and their mood and the way they were thinking and what they were doing and how they were paying attention. So science backs up that what we wear can affect how we feel. I just find that fascinating. I'm going to give you a little bit more because there was some research done in 2015 also about how clothing affects our thoughts. This was at Columbia and at Cal State Northridge. And these I think you will expect me to say. So we'll see if you can predict what I'm about to say. So here's what they found. They found that being well-dressed conveys authority. We think we have it when we're well-dressed, and we think other people have it when they're well-dressed. And it helps with a first impression. It gives us a visual impression of people. Okay, expected that. This is why when we have students or when we have kids or mentees who are graduating from college, we want them to get a suit, right? We want them to get interview clothes. That's the first impression. It also helps us radiate self-respect and self-worth the way we dress. And interestingly, let's go a little bit farther on that. They also found that our own self-perception, so how we think of and perceive ourselves, affects how others perceive us. And again, I don't think that's a surprise, but it rolls right back to whatever we're thinking and feeling about ourselves is not just a thing where I'm sitting around thinking about myself. It is going to affect how I go out into the world and relate to everybody else and how they see me and all of that interaction. And every way that we communicate with people has to do with energy. So the energy we are giving off when we are dressed differently is different. Pretty fascinating. They also said it grows our confidence and we maybe are inspired to do more. And we're going to circle back to that one for sure. We're also tend to be more productive when we're dressed well. We tend to be lazier in comfy clothes. Now, as I say that, I know there are probably people listening who are thinking, hey, don't tell me I can't sit and do my work in my comfy clothes. I am very productive in my comfy clothes. And I'll just say, I'm not trying to argue with you. I promise. I'm not saying you can't ever wear your comfy clothes. I just bought 2 new pairs of my stretchy pants that I enjoy. I am saying it makes a difference. So there's probably shades of gray in there, but it makes a difference. Okay. So should we, all that being considered, get dressed when we're working from home or when we're spending the day with our kids at home or when it's a weekend day at home? Why can't we just work in our PJs? Have you ever? Tell me on social media or drop me a note. Have you ever spent a whole work day in your pajamas when working from home? I'm sure we have. I'm sure we have. Here's the thing. To get out of our pajamas and put real clothes on, I'm doing air quotes, it changes our mindset. And one way to think about it is it turns your brain on. It's kind of like a signal to your brain that now it's time to be productive and do work or do homeschooling or do whatever task we need to do that day. It is a signal to our brain that changes our mindset. And interestingly, if we kind of pull out a little bit more with mindset, if I had to define mindset, I would say mindset is about our habits of thinking. So mindset really, truly, when you get down to it, comes from all the thoughts running around in our heads all day. It's the habitual way that we think. And this can go way back in life. So you may have a preference actually for a particular type of outfit for when you're working, and you may lean more casual or you may lean more formal in your preferences. And that's all fine, obviously. That can go back to your experiences when you were younger. For sure. Maybe when you went to school, it was a more formal environment or it was uniforms. Or maybe when you went to school during that time period, it was a very kind of slouchy sweatpant environment. Maybe you went to a lot of parties where formal dress really made you feel empowered. All of those habits of thinking that come from our life experiences are going to be part of our mindset. And so if we tend to kind of feel like ourselves when we're dressed a little bit more formally, but yet we choose to kind of lay around in our pajamas all day, we're not going to have as productive a day, period. And we're not going to have as healthy a mindset, period. So that's just something to consider. Maybe it comes from your experiences of going to church or going to synagogue and how you would dress for that when you were younger. It's in there as our habits of thinking. Now, because of all the research that I was talking about with enclothed cognition, when we are dressed in a way that makes us feel good, which is what Amanda was talking about, we feel more self-confident. Why is that? We might feel more desirable. We might feel like we are more worthy of attention. We will probably interact differently with others. And that's really powerful because, again, we're communicating that energy between ourselves and other people. I also want you to think about how you spend your day dressed appropriately or what, you know what, let's not use the word appropriately. How you spend your day, whether you're dressed in real clothes, again with the air quotes, or PJs or something in between, I want you to think of it as self-care, because when we put ourselves in a situation where we can feel more self-confident and where we can feel a little bit more powerful when interacting with people, that's self-care. That's taking care of ourselves. And it sets the tone for us being productive. So, can you do your job in your pajamas on the sofa with a laptop on your lap? Of course you can. You probably have done it. Can you maybe be more productive and more focused if you're wearing jeans or whatever type of pants or skirt you like and a shirt that you could walk out the door in right now? Probably, because your habit of thinking from all the life experiences you've had probably says that this is the way we dress when we work. And so now I'm working. I'm giving my body that direction that now I'm working. I'm signaling that to myself and I'm signaling that to others. And interestingly, if you are around other people, maybe you and your spouse or partner are both working from home, or you and your kids are spending the day together doing whatever it is you're doing. If you are getting dressed, it's a signal to the other people that are there with you that now it's time to do the things that we need to do. Work, homeschool, chores, whatever it is. Now it's time to do that. We're signaling to ourselves and we're signaling to other people. We're also, if we get dressed, a lot more likely to leave the house. And I'm sure you agree with me on that one, because if we're in our PJs, we are not really going anywhere, maybe to the mailbox, maybe to the car. If the car is not in the garage, we're headed down, venturing down the driveway or whatever. But if we are dressed, we are more likely for sure to leave the house. And tribe, you really need to leave the house. And I'm coming to you this week in this episode and just saying, I am not perfect at this. I am not fully coiffed every day, and I'm trying to get better. And that's why I started looking into this topic to see, would it make as big of a difference as I thought it would? So if you are more likely to go out into the world, you are more likely to put your tennis shoes on, or even your flats, doesn't matter to me, your sandals, and take a walk around the block. Wear what you're wearing. You're probably not working from home or parenting from home, wearing a suit or a dress, unless it's a comfy one. So wear what you're wearing, put some shoes on, and walk around the block. And if you got into a habit of doing that every day, maybe even a couple of times a day, health differences like crazy. Huge, 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 huge thing to do. And if you're in your PJs or you're in something that, you don't feel so great going out in public with, you're probably not going to do it. So that might not be one you thought of, but it's a big one. Now, one thing that I've done quite a number of times, and I bet you've done, and I'm so curious about feedback on this episode, by the way, is I've kind of dressed the top half of me and had my pajamas on the bottom. And I've seen people dress the top half and just have shorts on the bottom or whatever. So is that okay? What do we think? Well, my problem personally with that is I kind of feel even more disheveled when I do that. I feel like I look homeless, to be honest with you. And my husband does laugh sometimes at the combination. So I might have my hair fixed and my face fixed and a nice shirt and my pajama bottoms on. It's just a bit of a strange look. Now, if for you that works, because of course, if you're on Zoom meetings, right, all you need is the top half. We know people are doing it. There's nothing wrong with it. I just want you to think about how it makes you feel. For me, it's not a win. I'll do it if I'm in a rush. Maybe I overslept and it's just quick to get ready and I just don't bother with the changing of the bottom half or whatever, but I don't feel good. I almost feel less put together this way. And that may or may not be true for you, but for me, that is not a way to create confidence in myself to help me be productive. I feel even more disheveled. So for me, that's a no. I know it's common. So if getting yourself top half ready for being in public helps you to be productive and feel confident, then that's a good start. But it doesn't solve the most likely to leave the house problem. So I would encourage you to go head to toe as often as you can. We live in an online social media world. For me, it's having a landing page for this podcast, having a cool link in bio for my business Instagram, and having a resources website for my social selling team. Just having a place to put information, links, recommendations, and even celebration. I was thrilled when I found Boss Lady Bio. You can create a website that looks gorgeous and you don't have to know how to code. Have a look at what they offer at omgteachme.onamission.bio. You can even try it for free. Now, what about hair and makeup? This becomes a question too, right? So you may or may not wear makeup. That's fine. But we all have some sort of routine that we do before we go anywhere. We comb our hair, we wash our hair, we style it, something. Maybe like me, you are a fan of makeup and you do put makeup on. Maybe you simply wash your face and moisturize and put sunscreen. Please do those things. It's really good for your skin. We do those things to feel safe and confident in the world, and maybe even bold and powerful. So part of it is the routine. And sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like it gets old to be doing the same routine every morning. And maybe this resonates with you. I'm like, again, I got to do the whole thing. But there is a reason to at least do a minimal face wash, moisturize, comb the hair. We feel better with a routine. We feel safe in our sameness. Maybe I could say it that way. And knowing that if we had to open the door and a neighbor dropped by or the FedEx guy needed a signature on the package, we would not feel embarrassed. That is adding to our confidence. Knowing that we can get on the Zoom meeting or the Teams meeting or the webinar and not feel embarrassed, that adds to our confidence. Because that worry, even if you probably don't need to be on camera that day for any reason, and you're probably not going to be interacting with anyone, even if all of those things are true, we are community beings. We are wanting to interact with people. We're pack animals, is one way I've heard it said. So there's going to be in the back of our mind this thought, what would happen if somebody comes over? Would I need to hide? Should I get the door? It's just running. It's running in the back of our mind. And sometimes I think we don't appreciate how important those running in the back of our mind thoughts really are. They matter because our subconscious brain is paying attention to what's running in the back of our mind. And what happens is all those things, those thoughts running through our head create a feeling. So if I'm spending my day thinking, oh, I hope nobody comes by, and oh, I just kind of feel kind of gross, but I'm happy because I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to get dressed and I want to be cozy, but oh, I hope nobody comes by. I hope I don't have to get on camera. It's going to give me a feeling of, I'm reaching for a feeling word here. It's going to give me a feeling of being a little bit unprotected or vulnerable, just a little bit. And you can imagine that that changes the actions I'm going to take when I interact with people. The way we feel affects the actions we take. So the thoughts we have affect our emotions, the energy we're feeling in our body. That affects the actions we take. So if I'm feeling vulnerable, am I going to stick my neck out there and do some amazing things with my business or in my job or with my kids? I don't know if I'd be as likely to. If I was feeling bolder and more confident and really good about myself, maybe at the very least, I would interact with whoever I needed to talk to that day differently, with a different energy. And so will you. So I'm not saying, let's be clear, I'm not saying that you need to put on a suit and a tie or a skirt and a jacket or a dress and heels if you're going to be home all day. That is not what I'm saying. Now, if you would love to do that, then do it, because I am also not saying not to. What I'm saying is you can get dressed in something that makes you feel like a confident version of you. And maybe it's a little more casual if you're going to be at home and you're not going to be on camera. I just encourage you not to go too far with that. Now, before I give you kind of how I think it would be ideal for you to think this through so that you have a little tool to leave here with today, Let's also talk about the opposite for just a second. Because to be honest with you, when I thought about doing this episode, I did not think about this particular issue. And that is, what about at the end of the day? So if you are working from home that day, or you have an online business that you always do from home, or you're parenting at home, or whatever, at the end of the day, we need to be able to shut it down. And this is something that as a society right now, we're really struggling with. We need to be able to rest. We need to be able to have a delineation at the end of our day that says, now this task is over. Whatever it was that we were doing during the day, that was something that we needed to do and it was important. Now it's over. I'm shutting that off. I'm closing the lid of the laptop, figuratively speaking or literally speaking. And that's the end. And now I'm going to relax. And maybe I'm going to be with my family, or I'm going to watch something on the TV, or read a book, or have a nice dinner, whatever. But I'm shutting off the day and I'm giving my brain that time to relax. That is powerful too. So if you stay in your pajamas all day, how do we give our brain that signal? Or if we're always in kind of sweats all the time, and maybe we have a slightly different version that we sleep in or we daytime in, but it's always almost the same, we're not really doing ourselves any favors, because we need to signal to our brains somehow that the workday is over. Now, I know in some cases, friends of mine and people I know and listeners, you've told me that maybe you work in one part of the house, or you homeschool in one part of the house. And then when that is over, you go to another part of the house and you're not in your workspace. Work is shut off for the day, and now I'm going to do something else. There is a lot of powerful evidence that we need to shut off the workday for the health of our brains, for the health of our bodies. Go back a couple episodes when I had Maggie Martin joining us talking about the effect of cortisol, the effect of stress on our bodies. This is powerful stuff and it affects our health. So I'm going to give you kind of a tool to figure out how you might want to dress in any given situation, but I wanted to make sure to be able to hit the end of the day like that, because it's just as powerful as wanting to start the morning getting into some sort of productive outfit as it is wanting to end the day getting out of some sort of productive outfit into something else. Now, you don't have to change a million times a day. I don't really love to change a million times a day, but if we're staying in one outfit to sleep and to work, we're just missing all these signals about what we should be focused on and how the stress hormones in our body are going and what our brains are doing. So it's powerful, powerful stuff. Okay, so here's what I would suggest that we take with us from all of this discussion. You wake up in the morning, try asking yourself, how do I want to feel today? And then dress for that. So I'm saying embody the state of mind that you're seeking that day. So if I wake up in the morning and I say to myself, wow, today's going to be a big day at work or for my business, I need to get a lot done. Well, I want to feel confident. I want to feel productive. I want to feel powerful, empowered, focused. There's a way to dress for that, right? I'm probably going to put on real pants. Interpret that how you want. I'm going to put on a shirt that I feel good in. I'm probably going to do my makeup and fix my hair because I know that I will feel focused, empowered, confident, productive. Maybe it's a day where I have different sorts of tasks where I'm going to be reading or reviewing something, or I'm going to be just, doing tasks that are a little bit easier. It's okay to be a bit more relaxed that day. Maybe I don't have as big of a to-do list. Well, then maybe I dress to be a little bit more relaxed because that's how I want to feel that day. So ask yourself, how do I want to feel today? And then dress for that, from hair, skin, clothes, even shoes. Although I will tell you, I don't wear shoes in my house. So shoes is the one thing that I don't do. And I know there is a lively discussion of whether we should be putting on the shoes that we would wear to work and working from our home office. That is the piece I don't do because I don't like to wear shoes at home. I am happy with my socks or bare feet. I feel like it's good for my feet. But again, if that helps you feel the way you want to feel that day, then do it. Know that you are dressing to feel the way you want to feel that day, to help yourself achieve whatever it is that's on your agenda for that day. And here's where that episode 11 comes in. Make sure you go back and listen. Also know that you know how to dress to accentuate your favorite qualities and to really legitimately feel good about your shape and about how you look. Because even if you're not on camera, you're going to pass by a mirror here and there. You're probably going to encounter people in your family, or you're going to go walk around the block. I want you to feel good about how the world sees you, about how you're showing up in the world. And so I'm going to kind of mess with your mind a little bit here. As we get closer to the end of today's episode, we can see ourselves in the mirror and we can be happy or not happy about that. And I would encourage you and me to be kind to ourselves. But if we're dressing in a way that we know really helps our shape and our size and our kind of style look the best, then that's going to help. But even more powerful than just having how we see ourselves in the mirror is what we think other people think about how we look. Did you follow that? The way we dress affects how we think other people think of us. And while that's a little bit convoluted, because quite frankly, we don't know, you don't know what other people are thinking. We don't, not ever. We can guess, but we're probably wrong. Maybe not. Some of us are more empathetic and can really feel and read people more, but we don't really know what other people are thinking. We think we know, and what we think we know is something that we allow to really, really affect us. So putting on my mindset coach hat, I'm kind of telling you that's not really real, what you think that other people think about you, because we don't know. And quite frankly, because they're probably not thinking about you, we tend to spend a lot of time thinking about ourselves, not about other people. But the reality is there are powerful habits of thinking in our subconscious that are creating these interpretations. And those habits of thinking are connected to how we think we're going out in the world. If I go out in my neighborhood in my pajamas, then I am going to be pretty convinced that my neighbors are going to think I'm nuts and disheveled. Will they? I don't know, but I'm convinced that they will, because that's what I think. So the way we dress is partly connected to how we think other people think of us. And even though maybe to you it seems a bit silly, it is a powerful, powerful habit of mind or paradigm. And even when we're alone at home, those beliefs about how we appear to others and what they think of us are active. They're in there, they're in our thoughts, they're in our attitude, they're affecting our actions. So ask yourself in the morning, or maybe at night, if you put your outfit out the night before, ask yourself, how do I want to feel today? And then how can I dress to help me feel that way? Because it will affect you and it does matter. And I hope that this is so empowering for you, because even though I've kind of been warning you against the PJs all day, think about what if every day you simply put on jeans and a nice top and you felt so empowered to grow your business or interact with the people in your day in a much different way. It's so easy to do that. And so I hope this episode has shown you all the pieces behind that no one ever taught us in school. And I hope you'll be able to figure out how you want to feel and how to dress for how you want to feel. Now, one last piece, of course, the playlist. So this week I am adding Shut Up and Dance to the Mood Lift OMG Teach Me playlist. I just think it is such an infectious song because of the beat, and it's kind of a cool idea, because movement and dancing, hey, is really, really great for our mindset and for our health. So shut up and dance. Make sure you catch the playlist. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. OMG, I would be so honored if you would take a moment, leave a rating, leave a review, or take a screenshot and share on your social media. Let's get this message out further into the world. Now it's time to head down to the show notes to see the resources I mentioned. We may not have learned this before, but it sure is powerful now.